Today we will be learning about stitching. Stitching is when you take a needle and thread or yarn and create designs with it on a piece of fabric. There are lots of different types of stitches that you can do, but the first one that we will be learning how to do is called a running stitch. A running stitch is basically a stitch that goes up and down through your fabric. First, you will need a needle. Our needles are made of plastic, so they're not too sharp, but you should still be careful when you're using it. Your needle has a pointy end and an end with a hole in it. The end with the hole is called the eye of the needle. This is where you will put the string through. On one end of your yarn, you will need to tie a knot so that it won't slip through your fabric. Loop the end of your yarn and make a small circle. Then tuck the end of the yarn underneath the circle and pull it through the hole. Next, you will need to thread your needle. That means that you will need to put the other end of your yarn through the eye of the needle. If you try to poke the yarn through the hole just by itself, it might be really difficult. So, to help us with that problem, you will need a small folded piece of paper called a birdie. A birdie looks like a bird's beak. You will take your birdie and chomp the end of your yarn in his mouth. Then, close the birdie's mouth and poke it through the eye of your needle. Pull the yarn and the birdie all the way through, and then the birdie can fly away. Now you are ready to start stitching. You will be using a piece of fabric called burlap for your stitching project. Burlap is usually brown and has small holes in it that make it easier for us to stitch. For this video, I am just using a regular piece of white fabric. I decided that I would like to hide my knot on my stitching project. So I'm going to start by poking my needle through the bottom side of my fabric and pulling it straight through. You do not have to do this part if you don't want to. Now I'm ready to start. The first stitch will be started by pinching our fabric in between our fingers and then pushing the needle through kind of like a tunnel. Then pull your needle and yarn all the way through until you can't pull it anymore. Do it again to make another stitch. Pinch your fabric, push the needle through, and then pull it until it's all the way to the end. You can do this over and over again until you run out of space on your fabric. This is called a running stitch. When you get to the end, you can take a pair of scissors and cut off the extra string. You don't have to cut it too close to the fabric. For our stitching project, we will be using our running stitch to create a rainbow. The rainbow order is Roy G. Biv, or red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. However, I only have space to make 6 lines, so I will be using red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple for my rainbow. I will need to draw 6 lines on my fabric. You will be using a crayon to do this part. You can make your rainbow with straight lines, or you can make them with curvy lines. But make sure that you put at least 2 fingers of space in between each line so that they are not too close together. Then you will need to thread your needle. That means you will need your birdie. Chomp the end of your yarn in the birdie's mouth, close it tight, and then put it through the eye of the needle. Don't forget to tie a knot on the other end. Make a loop with the end of your yarn, take the end of your string and tuck it under and then up through the circle, and then pull it tight. Then you can start stitching. Pinch your fabric on the line, push the needle through the tunnel, and then pull it to tighten. When you're using lines that you drew on your fabric, make sure you're letting them help you. Pinch the fabric right on top of the line and then put your needle through in the spot where your line is on your fabric. Continue stitching each line with a new color of the rainbow. Have fun using a running stitch to create your own colorful rainbow.